for the ball.
Good, how are you? Good.
That's why I said no. So we won't forget.
We'll call the meeting to order. I have Councilmember Crawford lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, please. Lord, we are ever grateful for your guidance and your help in all the things we do. And we just ask you especially be with each of us as council members to fulfill the wishes of our citizens that voted us into this office. And just pray that they would be proud and happy that they made the choice to bring us on board, and that we would make Goddard a better place to live. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Do we have any changes to the agenda, Brian?
No, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, citizens' comments, if you come forward and state your name and address, if you have something you'd like to address the city about, please keep it to 3 minutes, and we will see what we can do about looking into your concerns. Nobody? Citizens' comments closed. Okay, item E, appointments, proclamations, recognitions, and nominations. Item 1, selection of mayor.
I'd like to nominate Larry
Okay,
for mayor.
nomination mayor. Any other nominations? Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, selection of vice mayor. I would like to nominate, oh geez, I got a rank for it. Sarah. That's what happens when you get to be
Well, I was trying to
second.
remember your last name and I'm like, I don't know.
Is there a second to that?
I think so. Make it vice mayor. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Oh, I guess we got recognition of the new team member, Alan Ralston.
Well, Honorable Mayor and Council, what I would like to do is recognize Alan Ralston for passing his water certification 2. May 24th, Alan passed the test. It's a detailed and very difficult skills and knowledge exam, and earned his Water Operator 2 certification from the state of Kansas. Alan has been with the city of Goddard since 2019. Prior to joining our team, he worked for the city of Mulvane, spending 9 years in the Parks Department and 4 years as a firefighter. After leaving Mulvane, Alan worked as an equipment operator and road maintainer for Kansas Department of Transportation for 10 years. Alan has been married to Sarah for nearly 20 years. They have 2 children. Morgan, who you're 12, correct? 13, okay, I'm sorry. And Wilson, who's 8, and I understand Wilson's quite the practical joker, so watch out for that guy. He's kind of shy, at least he acts like it, but I've heard stories.
So is he 9 or is he 10 then? You're 10, aren't you?
Give yourself a couple years, we'll make him 10.
You're a joker.
He's 10 tonight. So we're really happy to have Alan on our team. He's a hard worker, he's a good employee, he's a smart guy, and we hope he sticks around for a while. We'll get him on Water 3 and a wastewater certification soon. Thank you, Alan.
All right, I guess now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any questions on the minutes of the regular meeting or the special meeting or the accounts payable?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Can we maybe get a photo of Alan?
Correct.
You want Alan, I'm sorry.
I was wondering if we could get a photo of Alan.
Sure, if you'd like to, I'll find that.
He's like, maybe with you first.
By the logo.
Yeah. And
You too, Larry.
Maybe.
You too, Larry.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to item G, Summer Ball Showdown funding request. Has anybody had a chance to look at it over the past couple of weeks and see what they think?
I looked at it and I called and I asked for a little bit of clarification regarding the mini camp. Thank you. Sorry, my brain is like not here yet. It's still in Oklahoma at camp. And basically it's $40 per kid to attend the camp. And so their proposal was asking us for 20 per kid for like 300 kids, which would roughly be about $6 grand. Once I looked at everything and kind of thought about it and processed, you know, like how last year's tournament went and the things I saw, I mean, I don't know if we're at the point where I could make a, like, what I think would be a good investment, or do we want to?
I spoke with Matt, and this is where it would go in the budget. And we currently budget around $5,000 for similar events, maybe a little more, but some of those have administrative fees included in everything. So we're happy with anything, whatever the council's discretion is fine with us. But Matt said up to $5,000 would be good to come out of this economic development tourism fund that I believe is.
We have $116,700 in there,
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
And that's specifically what it's for, is
to
tourism,
those
convention,
things.
and marketing
Yeah.
attractions.
I mean, I would be on board with giving like 1,000 for like the first 50 kids to sign up for camp would be free. At $20 for our donation, but I mean, when I looked at everything, that's kind of where I was at, what I was comfortable with doing, but I don't know what everybody else is thinking or wanting.
Something you want to make a motion on?
Well, I think everybody should voice what they're thinking, if they've got input or.
What do you think?
Go ahead, you go first.
I get to go first.
I think we should all.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. So do we have that 116 earmarked for anything in particular?
No, in fact, I think we've only done one thing since we started collecting the 6% transient guest tax.
We bought some of the marketing equipment out of that fund, like the drone and the camera that we use. So that's the only thing that Matt and I could tell so far.
And is that the one where it's built up over the last few years?
It's the 6%, and right now the only contributor is the roadway in.
Right.
And then the transient guest tax that's collected within the Star Bond District goes to repay the Star Bonds once it's collecting revenue.
Okay. And is this truly a tourism thing? Or, I mean...
It qualifies, and it's, you know, we can earmark what we're doing, because the whole point of the event's to attract outside Goddard residents to the area to spend their money and to spend their time here.
Yeah, I mean, how many players participated in the camp last year?
We had 17 on Saturday and 43 on Sunday,
Okay.
and that was through Hap Duma. We reached out to Mike Walker of the rec.
Goddard
And,
Rec.
yeah, and he was working towards getting all of that out to get kids involved. Most of the times we had were interfering with football tryouts, so we would move them forward so they could still come to the event itself and work with the War Dogs. Because we've already talked to them about it. We would push the event to 10:30 to noon, so the football tryouts were in the afternoon.
Okay. Do you have a sense of how many students will actually sign up on that this year, or?
I don't. The War Dogs are the ones who are promoting the event as it's something that they want to do. We will similarly promote it through our channels and hold a registration for the youth here. We have not began our marketing side of it yet because it's 7 weeks away. And once the War Dogs release their marketing material, we'll share that and create a registration for them too.
So you had a total of about 50 people last year?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'd have to say I don't disagree with Sarah. Like, I mean, if you, I think that's not that would be a bad way to go, is scholarship, to get it going and get more people in there. But it's hard for me to believe that we're going to jump from 50 to 300 in 1 year.
If it's offered through the rec, I mean, I do understand typically you want to see a 30% return on the offer. And I agree with you that it would be crazy to see a 300 jump in that. But at the same time, I mean, we were going through a Delta variant last year and we still had 50 kids, and this year we're kind of a little different in the COVID side of things. But one of my other organizations just held a youth mini camp last year. They had 80 people, and this year they had 160, and that was this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm fine with what Sarah was offering up. I have a hard time putting $15,000 towards the camp when it's like, hey, we're trying to manage or $7,500 to $10,000 towards our fall festival, and that really does bring in a lot of surrounding people in big numbers, and so if I was going to put that kind of money towards something, I'd probably put it more on something like that.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, help out with the campsite and invest in that side. I think that kind of a scholarship sounds good to me.
Sure. The event itself will bring in a minimum of 10,000 people from the surrounding areas into the Goddard area. Now the mini camp obviously would be offered to the rec more so than anywhere else for the community itself. So however you guys see best fit, we definitely want to bring more people in, give them an attraction. As I sent a separate proposal that breaks down each item, as I discussed with Sarah, there were 3 that if you guys were interested in doing one of the 3 or 2 of the 3, however that works, it was just an optimal way of being involved in the tournament itself.
Okay.
Brett, what's your thoughts?
So all these are out of city kids.
Yes, you have one team that plays out of Goddard, and that's the Kansas Curve, and they are a summer collegiate baseball team that plays in the Kansas Collegiate League Baseball at Eisenhower.
Oh, and they play at Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm. I'm comfortably sitting about 28 teams right now. If I bring in 32, that just brings in, that means 31 from not Goddard.
And our
Sorry to interrupt. How many have paid
hotel
in
not
full?
included.
24.
24
I
have
have,
paid.
the other 4
Okay.
have deposits down of more than half.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to have that hotel done by then.
That's my concern.
They're not.
They're not going to have that hotel
Ben.
done by then.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, we discussed it today, and
Yeah.
like maybe soft opening, but how far out are they gonna know that that the soft
Sure.
opening's gonna happen, and people are gonna want to book their hotel?
sure.
Is kind of, but I know. I mean, we all wish it was open
Yeah,
tomorrow.
based on my conversation with Betty a few weeks ago, they were
That's the hard thing, is trying to do that big a commitment
sure.
when we don't have this much taxpayer money. Taxes are going to be brought to it,
Yes.
and So I'm okay with Sarah's recommendation.
Hunter?
I'm fine with whatever the council wants to do. I think any help that the city can get to try to attract more people is what's best. So whatever they decide is fine with me.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to direct $1,000 to the Summer Ball Showdown organization in order to cover our half of 50 kids in the community to attend the War Dogs camp.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion or second? Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you guys.
Okay, new business.
Honorable Mayor and Council. This is the second resolution of a three-part series that we do every time we issue special assessments for residential subdivisions. The first was conducted at the last meeting on May 16th, which essentially authorized the improvements to qualify for the special assessment statute. Once the resolutions authorizing the improvements were adopted for the following amounts of up to $6.33 million for improvement costs, we now move to the second part, which is to authorize the sale of those temporary notes that will then be turned into bonds once they're matured. The improvement is the purple square here at 23rd and 215th. Kellogg is up here, and 23rd's down here with 199th, and then of course there's Walnut with Clark Davidson. This is the north half of the plat that was approved at the first meeting in May, with Linear Trail to the north. And this is the lower half with 23rd Street to the south and 215th to the west. Walnut would be off of the map. This authorizes the distribution of the preliminary official statement as well as the preparation of documents necessary to effect the sale. It authorizes the mayor, clerk, administrator, finance director, city attorney, bond counsel to execute all the necessary documents for the issuance, sale, and delivery of Series 2022-2 geotemp notes. That's with the restriction of an amount not to exceed $7,100,000 and a true interest cost not to exceed 4%. These will be rolled into longer-term geo bonds once they're matured, and will at that time become special assessments paid for by the property owners. The documents have been prepared by bond counsel Kevin Cowan, who's here this evening to answer any questions that you may have, and reviewed by City Attorney Ryan Peck, who approves us to form. They do comply with all Rule G32 of the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, as well as the SEC Rules 15C 2-12. And then, of course, KSA 12-6A01 at SEC is the special assessment statute that we're issuing these notes under. Are there any questions over the second of two resolutions in this series, with the third one hopefully being presented at the June 20th meeting, which will essentially validate the sale at that time?
I'm just gonna ask Kevin about what the interest rate he thinks he can get.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. The 4% that was referenced earlier, I think is sort of rounding up, and I would hope that's higher than it will be. Last couple of weeks, obligation similar to this, the interest rate was around 3.
Okay.
Market last week, municipal bond market, was better than it had been in 15 weeks. I just read that this morning. Best week in 15 weeks.
and yields, which means lower borrowing costs for you, went down last week. So hopefully that continues, and maybe it'll be something in the twos.
So about how long is it before you put out the bids for the bonds, temporary?
Well, and I'm just going to mention this as well. Brett Sjogren at Stiefel told me this is a relatively large issue, so it's going to take a little more time to put together. I think they want a price on June 30 and hit your first July meeting.
And I believe that's in the agenda report. And we have our ratings call this Thursday.
So late June, I think, is when they want to try to set things.
Anybody have any other questions for Brian or Kevin? Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Thank you. If not, the motion would be to approve the resolution authorizing the offering for sale for Series 2022-2 General Obligation Temporary Notes for Goddard Trails End Edition, and that can be done by voice vote.
Okay, do we have anyone who want to make a motion for approving the resolution?
I'll motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, resolution 22-15.
Okay, I guess we're up to H2.
Honorable governing body, so this is a discussion item that's come up in the past several times and again recently. So there's kind of been throughout the past numerous complaints of slickness of the splash pad surface. City staff has examined that surface and it is rather slick, especially when wet. We have went ahead and placed no running and water shoes recommended signs along with etchings, painted etchings around the edge that say no running. Neighbors have described children slipping even while standing or walking on the surface as opposed to just running. City staff did consult with the head of the City of Wichita Aquatics Department. He basically told me that they have anti-slip coatings of some sort on all of their splash pad surfaces, whether that be brushed concrete or kind of the bead blasted when it first goes in, or more of an epoxy type coating. They typically have some sort of surfacing on all of their splash parks now. There was a contractor that indicated it would pretty much be too late to essentially texture or bead, sandblast, whatever you want to call it, that coating. You'd have to acid wash the cement, and it would essentially they're saying that it could cause extensive damage. Did I summarize that right, Brooke?
Pretty much, yes.
So city staff is seeking guidance from the council on what they would like to do. We're going to present a few options, kind of a good, better, best scenario, and take your recommendations, and we can always do some more research or anything, but at least get a baseline to say where do we want to go from here. So essentially the good option has already been implemented. That includes safety signage. Again, the water shoes recommended, no running signs. And then again, even with those, some parents are still reporting children slipping and falling at slower speeds around the splash pad area. The better option, we were presented late last week. Brooke and I met with a guy from Wildcat Painting who has done some of the surfaces on Wichita pools and splash parks. He suggested an anti-slip coating in the form of a 2-coat epoxy. This option has been utilized at some of the splash parks and walking entrances to some of the pools in Wichita and surrounding areas. He estimated that coating lasts approximately 6 to 7 years and can be easily repaired in wear or heavy use areas. So it is a textured coating that help feet get a little bit of a better grip, especially so with water shoes. And then water's going to bead and flow off of that a little bit easier, whereas the cement, it kind of soaks in. It's a little bit more porous. There is not much fall protection on that. It's mostly just anti-slip. And then the third best or priciest option would be professionally installed, essentially pour-in-place surfacing. Another gentleman did come out, reached out to the city and indicated that his company does this and said that he'd like to take a look and present an option for that. So like I said, it is a similar surface to what was put at our new playground equipment a couple years back. Softer rubberized coating that would be anywhere from 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. So this coating would last approximately 5 to 7 years, can be repaired, and has a limited 3-year manufacturer warranty. It offers a textured surface that is slip resistant and a little bit more of a fall or impact protection if there is a slip and a fall. So over here is an example of one of Wildcat's jobs, and this is kind of what that epoxy coating would look like. And here's the splash pad at Hillside that I believe Wildcat did. Similar type coating out there.
Now, is that the coating or is that the rubberized thing, or what is it?
I believe this is a similar type of coating here. I do need to double check with the Wildcat paint because I think it would be, he's recommending something closer to this over here. Does that seem accurate, Brooke?
Did we use this? So is that a pour-in-place type coating on in the center? I don't see.
I believe Wildcat Painting did this. I need to double check on this. It's not. I don't think it's a rubberized surfacing. I believe it's a textured coating. I believe these two are pretty similar. This is the full-on rubberized over here. It's hard to see it from that, but.
So what's the cost on rubberized, roughly?
We haven't gone through a formal bid process yet, but it would be anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000.
That's what we should have did from the start then.
And we don't have a bids yet on.
Before the payment, 20 years worth.
Yeah.
Well, this late in the season, you can't hardly get it done without shutting down the splash pad for a week or two.
Yeah, so both companies, whether it's the pour-in-place or the textured epoxy, kind of recommended, I believe, a week of downtime, a week to 10 days. So this is something we would probably recommend towards the end of the season. At this point, I think based on Brooke and I's discussions, we would recommend something more along the lines of doing the inner circle of our splash pad in a type of coating like this, which we don't know the exact cost on that yet, but we believe it's going to be quite a bit cheaper than a full-on pour-in-place. Because essentially, if you've seen the garage floors or things like that, where they kind of just put the epoxy down, it's quite a bit. It can be a pretty affordable option. So,
Can we maybe get the pricing for the different options and get info from Matt on what we have budget-wise, and then
Yeah, what we're looking
Come
for
back.
tonight is just kind of, is this something you want us to look at pursuing?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
There we go.
And then we'll come back with an actual proposal and
I guess one of my questions would be to Brooke, and that is, how easy is it to clean and maintain?
I feel like the epoxy will be easier to clean than the pour-in-place because the pour-in-place it's porous and it can get dirt and whatnot in it, and it'd be much more difficult to clean that out. And the epoxy, it sits on top. We can spray anything off the top of it. Something that Thatcher didn't mention that may want to be, that you may want to think about, and it shows in these illustrations here, they can do a regular color or they can do a design, and of course that'll change the cost. But we need to take that into consideration if the council wants to choose a design, then it would cost more.
The Goddard
That's
G.
up to governing party.
The Goddard G.
I think with the pour in place, you can do some lettering and stuff like that. With the epoxy, it's more just you pick the color. But
He did say that he could do
oh,
designs.
did he say?
He did on the
Okay, I
epoxy, he
missed
can do
that.
designs and
I missed
stuff,
that.
however you want it.
My mistake.
Throw some horse mats down.
Yeah.
Those mats like they have in the
Porcelain sell
restaurants.
those rubber mats.
Pretty cheap, actually. Aren't they like $30 a mat?
Yeah, they're like $30 a mat.
Yeah.
I got a couple.
I'd rather fall on that.
At your discretion.
They really
Those
are
would
that
likely
soft.
walk away though in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they'll be in back of
Simply
somebody's
would have his
pickup.
garage all filled.
Pop 'em down.
So are we looking for bids then, of different options, or what are we looking for?
Yes.
I think we,
I
I
think
think,
Just, we wanted to make sure we didn't
Right.
go to the work, because this will
I
be
mean,
rather extensive,
you go,
give you the appropriate
your
options.
kid's head crack on that concrete slipping. Serious stuff.
So do we need a motion
It's
to
nasty.
go out for bids, or do we just?
Just direct staff to
consensus?
come back
I'd
with
rather go the rubber.
I
With,
think it's
options and pricing for the epoxy and
Rubberized.
the rubberized.
Fall on
and
the rubber.
budget info from it.
Yeah, we know that we have
Epoxy instead of
some room
concrete.
in the CIP and we have room in the Special Parks and Rec Fund. It's just
Winded up in the ER.
the knock-on effect of if we're gonna program it, then that'll take some capacity.
Okay.
So,
Is that the consensus of the council then, or?
For them to go and get bids.
yeah, the rubber
Okay,
one would be
yeah.
awesome too.
Yep.
If we had enough in the budget.
So we can.
Better?
Good with me.
I guess the consensus is to go ahead and get some prices, I guess.
Awesome. Thanks for the direction.
We'll move on to item I, city administrator report.
Honorable Mayor and Council, just an update of the Starbond site. You can see the existing fields with the 3 ball fields currently under construction and 2 where they're working on the subsurface areas. You have the child care facility on the left-hand side. This higher surface roof is the water park. This is the health club, and then the concave roof where the water is standing is the natatorium. The natatorium on the right-hand side here, as well as the ball fields, are what's publicly financed, with the hotel with the exposed soffit and fascia, and the remaining portions are all privately funded. Just another view of the current fields under construction. A view of Arbor Creek, looking back to the southwest, and you can see the school complex in the background there. This is the phase 2 where construction hasn't started yet, but it's essentially finalized at this point. The view of the clubhouse area with the Circle Drive. You can see Elk Ridge construction continuing. Clover Leaf.
They are, aren't they?
And Rustic Creek with the detention ponds, and you can see the spec home foundations that are currently poured there. You can see the 3 homes currently at Dove Estates, with one being in final finish there. You can see it's looking back to the south with Kellogg in the background. You can see the duplexes currently, obviously weather delayed at this point, but that's between Cedar Street to the top and Main Street to the south. And then we'll show you here in the next picture the Scooters site. And then this is the 23rd Street culvert, and we got some road base damage. You can see the water before these rains even, there was water standing there. Because of drainage issues downstream and upstream, this is kind of just always there, and as such, the underside of the culverts has deteriorated and rusted through, causing a degradation and a washing away the road base, so now the road's collapsing. And you can kind of sort of see some of the cracks here that aren't all that pronounced, but on both sides here, they're very pronounced. And Public Works were able to get some steel sheet mats down to make that road condition safer. We do have the 4 cones, and those are still up, and then we also have signage for each lane of travel.
Where is that on?
This is immediately to the east of where the Trails End access point will be. So this is something that will be a city responsibility soon. So unfortunately, it's in the township, and so they're
It is on the very southwest portion of Attica Township, and they generally, and this is speaking to the county engineers, they generally don't maintain asphalt roads, and this being right on the very edge of their maintenance area. And since we've annexed that, we decided we want this fixed correctly. Instead of dragging our feet, I think we're going to take the lead on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this something
So-
that we can step in and say, we're gonna fix this?
The county will not, is interested in providing staff support, but that's the extent of it.
Okay.
So,
And they've been real good to work with. It's gone all the way to the head county engineer and his assistant, and they just don't have manpower or anything. I proposed to them initially that if we purchased the material, they could provide the work, but they don't have crews available.
and they weren't interested in providing the funds where we could.
Yeah, they don't want to provide the funds.
But we can take the initiative and say,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, cool.
How big are those? Are those like a foot?
They're 40-inch culverts.
40
There's 3 of them.
Big ones then. Big
Between
stuff.
the county's calculations, they recommended a 3x8 box, concrete box, but that's unavailable for at least 60 days to be manufactured. So Harlan and I talked, and he recommended going with 3 42-inch concrete culverts and ends to flow, so it flows nice on the ends.
Do we want to make it a little wider in case there ever going to be a turn lane?
It's pretty wide now, but you'd have to ask engine. That's an engineering question. I don't know how we want to proceed on
If we're going to do it, do you think we should do it big?
Well, you mean lengthwise
Yeah.
or bigger opening?
Lengthwise.
Yeah. Well, we can check the length of what's there now as far as if that would accommodate maybe a third lane or something, and see. We got a little bit of limitation on right of way, because the pipes and the end sections start protruding out beyond the right of way at some point. But
And-
we can look at it and see what.
Yeah, and this is county, and this will be city. And in fact, as Brooke said, this is Attica Township, this is Illinois Township.
And this road degraded quickly.
Yeah.
Probably
Literally
not
in
the-
front of our eyes
It
as
did.
we're watching
Within,
it. It's just,
last Thursday, it was just a dip, and we were putting material in it. Between probably 8 and noon, the asphalt literally broke, and there was a good 6, 8, 10-inch drop, and it was dangerous. And we filled it up with material again, and then Friday I talked to Noah Construction. They provided the plates and moved them out there for us.
And we're contemplating going back with reinforced concrete pipe, so that you won't have if this is going to constantly set in water, which it has in the past, that's hard on even corrugated metal pipe. So the concrete pipe should be more resistant.
So what would you do? Would you put in some gravel underneath the concrete then to hold it up, because it's always standing in the water?
Well, you'll have to make a solid base,
So yeah, it would probably have to be pumped out, dewatered first of all, and then some sort of a solid base put down. And that could be AB3 rock.
And
Yes.
there'll probably be a road closure for a
Yeah.
little bit, because it may even require some sort of fly ash or something. I don't know. Depends on how wet.
Let's just build a bridge.
Yes. Well, if money was no issues, we'd be out there tomorrow building the bridge.
And then we can create a bridge replacement fund.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, we'll be coming back to you with that request here very soon.
And Brooke, the concrete pipes were readily available?
Yes, the concrete pipes are readily available, as are the ends.
Okay, good.
And I've got prices on that and everything, so.
And then you put the little wings on the ends, or you rip wrap it to where it don't wash out, or what?
Well, you have the flared end sections are made that actually fit on the end of the pipe, and they're flared to provide a better flow into and out of. We might have to rip wrap the downstream end of this just to protect it from erosion. That's where I'd be more concerned about, is on the downstream end.
And just to follow up, the new phone system will be, it's scheduled to be installed on June 16th and Friday the 17th. An update too on our water utility, water well 4 is functioning normally and flowing 600 gallons a minute. And Brooke and Harlan are working on an application to increase our water rights for wells 4 and 5, so that we'll continue. We currently have a combined capacity of 800 GPM, so that will essentially remain unchanged, but our acre feet we're asking to be increased, and so they're working on that application. We'll get that sent off here in short order, and there'll be a $1,000 application fee with that, but we're already at our capacity. And if either of you want to speak to our water rights, if you feel so, okay.
If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them, but right now 4 and 5, we're at just under 55 million, 54.9 million, and we can easily overpump that on those 2 wells, and we need that capacity for future growth. So we're pushing for, as it says here, 320 million total.
Those wells capable of putting out more than 400 gallons a minute, or?
They put out 400 gallons a minute, but the type of wells these are, we are limited to the amount we can pump out of them, because it draws down and you'll get to where it cavitates the pump, and that'll ruin your pump, and then it's hard on your shaft. For instance, we test flowed this one with Lane Christensen Company, and right about 670 it started cavitating, so we brought it back to 6 and it's holding 6. 7, when we flow tested it last time, it started cavitating at 640. And so really it's just the nature of our aquifer and how the water flows back into the cone as it's drawn down. It only flows in so fast, you can only draw it out so fast. Otherwise, you'll draw it out quicker than it flows in, and you'll cavitate your pump, cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, because then you're just essentially spinning air bubbles, which is
And they
running
get-
your pump.
And they do a lot of damage to impellers and bowls, and then they start vibrating shafts, and they get bent, and shafts on motors, you name this.
Don't the engineers call that some sort of harmonic dissonance or something like that?
That's a little bit above me.
It's a chain reaction, though, isn't it, Harlan?
I just know bad things happen.
Yeah.
How many pumps are we running at a time right now? Just mainly 2, or?
See, and we're running all 3 right now. We just got 6 back online. They're going to go out to 7 and do the work on it. And once we have them all running, we will run them all.
I mean, as far as at the same time,
They all run.
to supply our needs.
Yes, they all run simultaneously until we get, and they'll fill up the tank, and the booster station will fill the tower. And once those hit a certain percentage point, over 90%, then our SCADA system shuts them off. And then when it comes down to a certain level, it automatically turns them on and refills our storage.
That turns them all on.
Turns them all on.
Unless, of course, we get into a capacity issue with our water rights, and then, of course, that will play a role as far as whether we're running 5 or we're not running 5, or we're running 4 more than 5. Then we play those kind of games.
And with this reperfection, we won't have to play that game. We can just run them. So that's our goal, is to get as high a water rights as we can. for future use. And right now, where we're pumping, as far as GPM, we have run those wells 18 hours straight and had them pump steady flow for that long, which is pretty good. I'd rather have long flow pump at 600 than run up to 8 and only be able to pump at 5 hours. We're going to shut it down. So.
And just some upcoming agenda items. At the next council meeting, we'll discuss the water sewer budget and some CIP items. You'll have requests for zoning change for 2 properties. The 900 block in North Main, which is the city ground that's currently under contract to be amended from commercial 2 to R4, high density residential, and then 150 acres north of Maple from R1 to R4. And, you know, this will be at the next Planning Commission meeting on Monday, a week from tonight, and we are in discussions with the property owner and representative for that 150. As with the flyover coming through, we want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. And then Michael will also have a nuisance hearing for the 500 block of North Goddard Road, and we'll also have a follow-up on the previous nuisance issue at that time as well, I believe. Then we'll have a discussion in July for, and we'll have Angie given the AAR if our new graduate schedule will if she's available. Otherwise, it may be in July. And then we'll have shade structures, sign regs, equity, benefit, issuance fees, big arm final plat. That could possibly be the 20th, but we're thinking more in July, and then we'll have some additional budget workshops, and then ideally the second meeting in July, setting the hearing date in August. So that concludes my report. If there are no questions for myself or any other members of the team.
Do we have all our wells up and running, or is there still one not working? Or?
1 is still down, 7 is still down. Well, the company that we contract with slowed down a little bit by the rain. They put them behind because they were working under those power lines over there, and they don't want to work with electricity that close. So it slowed them down for about 3 or 4 days, but they're heading next to 7. They've got to pull that liner, reinstall a new one. And once that liner's pulled and reinstalled, I think it'll go pretty quickly. At least I'm hoping.
Okay, we do have a guarantee with that, right?
I have a lot more confidence with this company. Let's say that. So.
All right, governing body comments, Hunter?
I'll make this really quick. Lance, have we worked with the Goddard school districts at all as far as response times to high schools or elementaries and any unfortunate circumstances?
Active shooter.
Have we worked with the school district at all? I know they have
Specifically targeting such a situation?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
directly.
Okay.
Other than we just have a very close understanding and close working relationship.
Okay.
Is that all, Hunter?
Yep, that's it.
Yes, Sarah?
Thanks for your confidence, guys. I hope I do you proud. That's all I got.
All right. Michael?
Yeah, I hope Summer Ball Showdown is a good success for the community this year. Looking forward to it. It's better.
All right.
And I have to thank Brooke. Brooke like saved the day. Well, one of your employees saved
Sean
the day.
saved the day.
Saved the day. I had all the ladies from this graduation coming up to me, telling me there was no toilet paper in the bathroom. That aren't you city councilman? Yes. Well, we need that fixed.
We got it.
And boy, it got done.
You got TP.
And now it has brand new big toilet papers rolls installed in it.
We had filled them up Saturday morning, and that park gets busy, and by the time they had their party, it was empty. So we filled it. We ordered new large capacity toilet paper dispensers. So we're trying to stay on top of the toilet paper situation.
And I wish I could show you this picture. They even folded the bathroom rolls to little, like,
The little.
ties. They look like little ties for the ladies. It was so nice of them. You know they did. Like it was a hotel.
I think Sean's the last of the nice guys, to be honest. He has been working solely in the parks this summer. He's done an outstanding job. He's been working out front here on the beds and stuff and at the library, and he's doing an excellent job. Excellent job.
He was very helpful during
Yeah.
neighborhood.
And that's what we needed. We needed a body in the park. It's busy. People want to see the toilet paper filled. So we're going to do that.
Splash pad.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
All right, the only thing I have is I just thank the council for a vote of confidence in me as mayor, and hopefully I can make you all proud and do a good job and make the city proud in my tenure here. And I guess if I don't live long enough, I guess you've got a new mayor then.
You're not allowed to die. I told you I was going to
You're right, Sarah, he's not allowed to die.
Nope, he's not. I'll make a motion,
Do we need to go into executive session?
yes, to recess into executive session for the preliminary discussion relating to the acquisition of real property to include the city attorney, city administrator, and director of community development. We will convene the open meeting in the city council chamber at 8, somebody do the math for me, 07.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Oh, you didn't want to let?
I was gonna steal it, but.
Let the record show no action was taken in executive session. Take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we
Adjourn.
What's illegal?
Second.
Stealing my second.
Oh.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Adjourn.
I told Kathy I'd personally take care of it.